Just let's do a quick show of hands. Who here's got a blog? Who's writing a blog at the moment? Oh, pretty much everyone. And is anyone here not writing a blog at the moment but thinking of starting one? Excellent. Okay, good. We'll see if we can persuade you by the end of the night. So we have 3 fantastic bloggers here tonight whose brains we're going to be picking mercilessly. We have Stella Catterman from Stella's Wardrobe. We have Laetitia Vunapol. Vajnapel, I knew I'd get that wrong. From Mademoiselle Robot. And we have Reem Nanj from... No, there you go. It's all going terribly well. From 55 Fabulous. And they all have blogs that are kind of pretty popular. And who's here because they know these girls' blogs? Yeah, that's pretty good. I know that we get quite a few people. Apple get quite a few people who just kind of come in on the spur of the moment. So there you go, new customers potentially. Let's start by kind of finding out like when you started blogging and why you started blogging, because that's a good place to start. So Stella.
I started in 2009. Just kind of as a diary of my outfits, really, not really before the whole blogging thing kind of started off, really. I think it was some kind of competition about dressing a T-shirt, and I did it, and the woman really liked what I did with it, the designer, and she was like, why don't you just like take photos and put on a blog? And that's what I did, and from then on, for me personally, it's just been like a library, like a back catalogue of my outfits that I can look back onto, and then people started to like it. That was kind of the starting point, really.
Brilliant. And when were you first aware that other people were reading it other than just your mates?
It was kind of when you started to hear like comments, or like people left comments, and people started to recognize me, and people got in touch, and it was so nice because for me it was really only expressing my outfits, because every outfit for me is like a piece of art that I create. So for me it was just kind of showing it. Yeah. And if people liked it, good, and if not, I didn't really care. So it was just great when you started to get feedback. Just amazing, really.
Fantastic. And Laetitia, you started yours in 2007?
2007, yeah. For me, it was, I was on maternity leave and I was really bored, and it was a way to get back into writing because I was working as a journalist when I was still living in France. So yeah, it was mainly writing stuff about my daily life to share with my friends back home. And I guess I realized people were reading when suddenly I saw there were more than 20 people in the stats, and that couldn't possibly be my mum just looking, clicking and clicking. So yeah,
that's fantastic.
So that's pretty much it.
That's great. And Reem, tell us how you started out and when.
Well, I graduated from uni. I originally wanted to be a textile designer, but literally when I graduated, it was the peak of the economic crisis. Like, it couldn't have been a worse time. So just to not waste time, I started the blog, and it kind of took over from there. It's now my full-time job. But, you know, with blogging, like, everything changes constantly. So I'm always reevaluating my, like, content and who my readers are, my audience. So it's like a never-ending journey, but it's fun. It's good.
And how long have you been blogging now?
So I graduated in 2009, which is when I set it up. So 3 years.
That's not long, and already it's a full-time job.
Yeah, well, I mean, it took a lot. You know, I think I work more than what a full-time job would permit. So I think it's double that, really, in terms of how many hours I've put into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
And Laetitia, you must be full-time
doing
that
full-time.
now. Yeah.
It happened quite quickly as well. I think by kind of the summer of 2008, I was pretty much full-time.
Wow, that's so quick.
6 months. But it was really early. I mean, 2007, there weren't that many out there. So if you had something good, you'd get people contacting you quite quickly and stuff. It went really fast.
And Stella, you're not full-time because we know that you're a student, and not a fashion student as you would expect. Stella's studying history at UCL, which, as you can imagine, would be
well, it's not that intense, so it's only 6 hours a week. I can kind of do the fashion thing on the side, but it was kind of like trying to please my parents, do a solid degree, and then being in London, obviously, you can make use of the fashion that's out there. I intern, I do my blog, so I kind of like having the contrast at the moment, so... You know, history, you do learn a lot of fashion references through it, because fashion is so related to like social changes, social upheaval, so it's actually quite useful. I'll do it till the end.
Useful, yeah. We know Stella at Grazia because Stella was interning with us, and we know that you've interned at a couple of other places. So how much of your blog was about finding an outlet for something that you obviously enjoy, and how much of it is you would like to be in the industry? And
well, for me personally, it's been kind of it's the best way of building up a fashion CV. I want to do styling, so me styling myself is the perfect way to illustrate what I can do. Like being trend-led, but obviously using high street and wearable way. Like I wear this every day. I wore this to my lecture today at 2 on the Russian Revolution. So for me, it's the perfect way to like show my styling, make connections, get internships, and it's just been perfect. It's been so rewarding, and just even I do my restaurant reviews and things like that, and just to get feedback from people, it's just great. And London is the perfect place to do it. So
is it like the blog is now taking over from the CV? If you wanted to kind of have a calling card to go and do an internship somewhere, or maybe even get a job.
I think it helps a lot. Yeah, it helps a lot because there's so many people that want to go into fashion. Blogging can set you apart. It can show you've gone the extra mile. You're being creative. You're not
being very creative, Stella.
Exactly. It gives you that certain look. You can create your own brand in a sense.
Yeah.
Like my blog has become my brand, and it shows initiative that you can't just express on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And that makes you stand out, and that's what the blog has been really helpful to do, and hopefully it will help me get into styling once I finish uni.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. And not that your parents will be thrilled about that.
Yeah.
Inevitable.
No banking for me, sadly.
And Laetitia, you started Mademoiselle Robot, which was your DJ name. Is that right?
Yeah.
And now you're kind of working in sort of fashion, beauty, I guess. Was that an intention of yours, or?
No. I was when I worked as a journalist, I was a video games editor, so nothing at all. But my kind of motto in life is to always do what you like and what makes you happy. So I have an MA in cinema. I started off studying history as well.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of, I don't know, it was just floated around, always doing what I was good at the time, and kind of, but writing, I guess, is the one thing that has stayed there always. So whether it was video games when I was 22 or now fashion, it's always been about writing.
And your brand is sort of, Stella was talking about this sort of idea of a personal brand. Your brand is expanding, year by year, because you now have Mini Robot, which is your sort of, like, you've got a daughter, right, who's like 5 or 6.
5, yeah.
And you have this sort of alter ego, which you write under that's like...
Yeah, I do it sometimes. It's just because the blog is so personal in a way. I write about things that happen to me. So obviously having a child, I'm getting interested in kids fashion as well. And so I have Monsieur Robot as well, who's my best friend, who's doing the men's fashion. So it just expands, but in a very organic way. It just grows with my interests also.
But there's something brilliant about, like, because this Monsieur Robot is Warren, isn't it? Who's a friend of yours who you've known for a few years. And now he's doing menswear for the site, which you don't particularly want to write about, but he gets this sort of ready-made audience. You get more content and a lot more sort of hits on the site, don't you? So it's kind of genius to kind of have a brand and then kind of like move it in other directions.
It's more like, and also for me, because I used to run magazines and things, it's back to kind of this magazine feel without having to work for a magazine directly, which is something I do, but also on a freelance kind of.
And Reem, you're working with your sister, aren't you? How does that work? Because I quite like this idea of not doing a blog on your own, because I think we think of blogs as quite sort of solitary pursuits, don't we?
Well, Natalia also went to LCF, and she moved in with me a year ago. Since then, she's been running the blog with me. But the idea...
Oh my God, you're living together and blogging together and fighting over the same clothes.
Oh God, yeah, my boyfriend hates it.
I saw a tweet today, and it was like both of you kind of saying, you open all my parcels when I'm not there.
I know. I do. I open her parcels because, essentially it's mine anyway. But okay, so Natalia is actually taking a completely different route to what I took. She's going down the whole interning stage, getting a job. And, this is the beauty about blogging. I mean, I managed to have this platform ready for her, all of these contacts at her, disposal. And she was sort of at uni in a retail job that she could not stand. And I was hearing from PRs that I knew, oh God, this press day is driving me crazy. I need an intern. I was like, ooh, my sister, like, Natalia, contact this woman, contact her tomorrow, and she'll give you an internship. Not because she knows me, but because, I know my sister's a hard worker. She ended up getting the internship, juggling uni, a retail job, and an internship, because we're both completely financially independent. So she literally had to grind, and managed to get the job after 3 months of interning, and has now got a promotion from that job, and is doing incredible things, going to New York and Paris twice a year, and I'm like,
Brilliant.
what the hell happened there? Like, why am I not doing that? But, you know, it's really interesting to document these two sides of someone doing it completely in an unorthodox sort of way. I just, from uni, started a blog, it became my business. She's doing it the more traditional route, and it's working out for her. But it's interesting to have, you know, the two journeys documented on the blog.
So how did you get around to like it becoming a full-time profession?
For me, I mean, because I have a massive interest in fashion, and blogging opens your eyes to so many different fields within the industry. Like, I really know how to do PR through blogging, and I've obviously got lots of experience in writing, and I know a lot about social media. So I started consulting for different luxury brands on how to expand into social media and blogging, etc. And then it got to a point where the blog was so successful, it was keeping me really, really busy, that I didn't want to say no to 55 Fabulous stuff, and I had to make a decision and leave the consultancy behind and continue on with the blog full time. I didn't really want to sacrifice 2.5 years of, you know, a lot of work. But I'm always open to freelance stuff, and that's the beauty of it. Like, I'm completely in control of what I do.
And Laetitia, how quickly did you start getting offered other projects to work on? Like, what was the first brand that approached you, and why did they approach you? Can you remember?
I can't remember, but it's hard to say also because I had already quite a few years of career behind me when I started, so it's hard to know whether it was through the blog or through my own kind of work and stuff. But I think I'll have to get back to you on the first brand that approached me. I mean, the very, very first thing was like some kind of hairstyling thing about 3 months in. But then after that, it just sort of, I think maybe Arcadia and Topshop.
Yeah.
I think that they had like the first kind of proper blogger event back in 2008 with a photo shoot and clothes to play. And yeah, that probably was the first big event.
And it must feel really great if you've kind of been plugging away, like writing on your own, and then a big brand like Topshop kind of.
Well, again, that got me in the
calling.
Times. Like that got me like a full page picture in the Times without, that was mental.
Yeah,
that was probably mental because I didn't even think that it was possible for me, a blog, because I've been online since maybe 97 or something, just writing diaries online and kind of just fiddling around with websites and things. And so to me, a blog was mainly something to tell your adventures to yourself and maybe a few friends. So suddenly this turns into a full-time job that can earn you money and notoriety and bring you work. It's completely mad. Yeah. But it's great. Yeah. Mad.
That's brilliant. And then Stella, you've been sort of photographed absolutely everywhere. Like, I'm sure if you're kind of interested in fashion, you may well recognise Stella, even if you didn't know about her blog.
It's the fringe.
It's the fringe.
Yeah.
But like, again, it's so brilliant to have this kind of image, and street style, as we will find out next week, is absolutely kind of huge for magazines and blogs at the moment. So did you find that quite easy? You just turned up and then suddenly everyone was interested?
Yeah, it's really funny. I remember going to Germany when I was 16 to visit my granddad, and I think that was the first time I was ever photographed and was like, oh wow, it's great. And nowadays I kind of know everyone that does it, but every time it is nice, and I would never not stop for someone, because I think for someone to have the courage to come up to you and ask you for a picture, I think it's really a nice thing to do, and for someone to appreciate that you've made an effort, it's great. And that's been really helpful, just to kind of get my face out there and just to get the exposure for someone to see the outfit that I've made. And that's how I've gotten in touch with the brands that I got in touch with and done things for, because they've seen I've styled what I've bought in the shop. So that's how I got my kind of working with Dorothy Perkins and Miss Selfridge and stuff like that.
Which is brilliant. Like, great brands already. It's really
I know,
good.
it's really, really great, especially while I'm still at uni and relatively young, to have that to kind of put out there has been really great, and kind of meeting the people and understanding the fashion world as well. It's been so, because like looking at from a very naive point of view of a 16-year-old starting the blog, you have no idea how it works. As like one of the girls said, like with PRs, how it all works with shoots and all of that, and it's invaluable what you learn, even just being at a shoot and then through my interning and just what I've learned in the years. It's just the blog has just been great for learning that.
And you're right about food as well. Like, do you think those two things go together particularly?
I think in London they really do, because I think London is kind of the capital of trends, and in food trends are as much of a theme then in fashion. So like everyone is eating burgers at the moment, but now it's moving to like hot dogs and fried chicken. And it's really, really interesting to observe because it's as much driven about that. And it's quite funny. Whenever there's a hip place to eat, you see all the fashion girls there from the magazines, you know. So it's very interlinked. It's all about a certain lifestyle that you care about, what you do, what you wear, what you eat. And I found it great to kind of guard and explore it. And I think fashion and food, you know, you need something to fuel you while you're wearing those fabulous outfits,
it's
really.
true. It's true. It's good, very healthy attitude. Stella's just been recommending an Austrian restaurant.
Yeah, well, that one
this
is
is
really
the next
good.
big thing, next thing. So I wanted to ask you about kind of running blogs, because we're obviously in the Apple Store, we need to get a little bit techie. How did you sort of choose the platform to do your blog on, and was that difficult, and how has it kind of worked out for you? Laetitia, do you want to talk about that?
I picked Blogger because I had blogs on there before, and I'm not sure why I started a new one. I must have sensed somewhere that it would go somewhere else, and I didn't want to have my diary at the end of it. So yeah, it was Blogger, and it's easy, and as the years went by, it became much easier to customize, so you can change your whole template. So there's a lot of things, and people were telling me about WordPress, and I was like, nah, I'm just gonna stay on Blogger and just keep with it. And now you can't really tell whether it's on Blogger or not.
Right.
But, you know, for me, on the kind of back end, it's much easier.
Yeah. And you're still really happy with it. You're still with it, and you're.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I don't think I'll change.
Good recommendation. And Reem, what's 55 Fabulous on?
It's on WordPress, but I have a designer who manipulates the themes to make them look super unique and very streamlined. Like, the branding is really, really important to me. I think it's nice to like, if someone's not completely aware of your blog, they will recognize your logo. Like, we just did a collection with River Island. And
You two are they're both designing bags for River Island at the moment.
tech accessories.
Oh, tech accessories, perfect.
And like the iPad case and the iPhone case in particular, were inspired by the colors of our brand. Pink, white, and charcoal. And, you know, I love that because it's like, as soon as I need inspiration, I've got it. You know, I don't need to like dig deep and spend loads of time figuring out who I am and what I represent. It's fun, and I think it works. We also have a strapline, "Hello, my name is Fabulous," and that's put across the blog in, you know, some elements. But WordPress has always been our go-to. I mean, we started in 2009, and I think WordPress was like really trying to pull through in that year. But I don't know Blogger, so I can't really compare it to anything else. It works pretty well, but, you know, it's important if you are going to start your own blog to try and get your own theme, and even if you are using a basic one, it's really easy to just manipulate it to make it look how you want it to look, so you don't have the exact same blog as everyone else. But to be honest, I think the simpler the better when it comes to blogging. People are there to look at your photographs, read your content, contact you if need be, and they don't really want to be bombarded with too much. So, yeah.
And Stella, what are you on?
Oh, it's a blogger. So
Also
I kind
blogger.
of like, I think out of simplicity of use, I'm not really great with technology, and that was easy to do. And I think with me, it's been a really fluid process, making it look better and better and better. I've been really lucky. I got a French illustrator to do my banner,
which is great.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. She illustrated me like 5 times in 5 different outfits, and she is amazing. She did like an incredible job. Before that, I had like something from a photo shoot. So it's always continuous. I've always tried to keep it really simple. I want it to be about the content. I want people to look at my outfit, look at the food pictures. I don't really want it to be about flashing things, and that's why I've just stuck to it. It took me long enough to figure out how to like make it mystellaswardrobe.com. So after figuring that out, I was quite happy. I'll stick to it for now, really.
And what sort of equipment are you using for
just
doing what you do?
Well, I have a good camera. Like, I got a good camera for Christmas 2 years ago, which makes a massive difference. Thank God I have great friends that do my pictures every week.
This is the other thing. Like, who does the pictures?
Well, I'm really, really weird about that. Every Friday is New Outfit Friday. So every Friday I have my new outfit. And whoever I'm seeing for dinner has to take my pictures.
as dessert?
Well, before dinner.
Oh, perfect.
First the pictures,
Starter.
then dinner. And I've taught them well, I think. They tolerate me by now. So I think it's just about, I'm really good nowadays in locating very well coloured walls that match outfits. That's
Yeah, I've
always
noticed
important.
that about you. Yeah.
So I know all in London where there's nice walls. It's always good.
So that's interesting, though, that you think the background's important as well. I mean, we're going to be covering lots of these things next week in our kind of photography masterclass, but it's interesting that you're talking about that.
I just kind of have gotten used to trying to at least convey kind of editorial look. So I used to do it when I lived at home. You could see my cats walking in the background and you could see the Sainsbury's shopping bags. But the more I kind of put thought behind it, I want to give a certain quality every week, so that does go behind it.
And presumably if you have a really good camera, the joy of it is that you can set it up and hand it to someone and it, like your mum can take great photos or whatever. And Laetitia, what sort of equipment have you got? Are you sort of super high tech?
A bit. I mean, I'm a bit of a sucker for Apple, so
okay, this is great. Talk about
I'm
that
in my temple.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, so I use, as I say, I have like I used to have a DSLR and I have a micro four thirds because it's like a very small compact camera that's much lighter. So that means I can't be a lazy photographer and I have it with me. Not today though.
Right.
For outfit shots, I've recently teamed up with a photographer. Because I was a bit fed up with my having to persuade my husband at the weekend. It's difficult with a kid and stuff, just hanging around in the street. And so I thought I'm just going to keep this in my work time and do it with a photographer, and that's great. And yeah, I mean, for everything, it's just having an iPad. But it's not essential, but it helps a lot. So I can go to meetings and still sneak 2 emails and do stuff like that.
Yeah. And always be online.
For me, it's like I feel like I have a triple life, so it's nice to kind of just be able to juggle everything at the same time.
Yeah. And Reem, what sort of stuff are you using?
Well, I think you realise how important extra technology around is to you during Fashion Week, because your phones run out of battery and it's crazy. But an iPad is essential. One of my best friends bought me one for my birthday.
Great, that is a good friend.
Like, I cried. I couldn't believe how generous she was. But it's been amazing having an iPad because, you know, I've got everything I need on there, all my emails and images and Instagram, which is great because I have a BlackBerry. So because it's good to stay social. And a camera, which I'm thinking of getting the new one. It's a Fujifilm X10, which I love because it's like this big. And the lens is tiny, but it's amazing. And in terms of who takes our pictures, well, I'm lucky to have my sister, who I'm training to use a camera properly. Because, I mean, I didn't realize when I first started blogging how important it was to learn how to use your camera. And then we team up with another blogger, Zahra, who does Lila Loves Fashion, and we sort of cross street style snap each other. So we do her, she does us. And
brilliant.
It works out.
That's really good. Bit of blogger community there.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. I was going to ask you about how you kind of market your blog, how you get it out there. You were talking about how important it is to sort of be social. I mean, it seems like if you started a blog sort of, you know, in the Susie Bubble era, all you had to do is blog. Whereas now it seems like there's so many other things to do, and you're sort of tweeting, and you might be doing Facebook, and you might be doing like Instagram. Like, how do you divide up your time? How do you divide up your content? Do you find it a hassle? Do you wish you could just write on your blog?
Well, I have just recently stopped writing 5 times a day on the blog. We used to post at least 3 times a day, and we've stopped that, and now we just post about personal experiences within the fashion industry, which has been a complete weight off my shoulders. So now I concentrate on a lot more contacting the brands that I want to work with. So I spend a lot more time on my Gmail just working those things out. But in terms of marketing the blog, you know, like, we were recently featured as Blogger of the Week on Grazia, but I actually made that contact, and it was like knocking on your door going, hey, why don't you feature us? You know, like,
which is great because it's great for us as well. People don't realize that, to hear from bloggers too.
And people don't realize that you can actually ask people to feature you or work with you. You know, I don't just wait for anyone to come up to me. So I do a lot of our own sort of PR and marketing. I'm in the midst of doing a business plan and a marketing strategy, so it's all very, you know, professional. It's kind of scary, but I mean, we are very social. Twitter for me is completely 100% work. I rarely tweet about, my personal life or anything like that. But the good news is that I am very involved in my work, so a lot of it will be where I'm going, who I'm with, what I'm eating. Like Stella said, food for us is super important. We also blog food. But yeah, I think it's really important.
And what's the most effective thing for you? Like, what do you find you get a lot of traffic from?
I think it's like we make sure that we schedule tweets for every post that's coming up. So if I am too busy to get on Twitter, because sometimes I don't have time to check it during the day, I will have tweets scheduled to remind people that we've got new content on the blog. Always contact the brand. If you're just posting about a brand randomly for no reason and you just want to say, I love this brand, here's what I bought, here's what I'm wearing, contact them and tell them, I've posted you on my blog. Most of the time they retweet it or put it on their Facebook page, and that a lot of the time really boosts up your traffic, because they're opening you up to a audience that you may not have had access to. And also collaborate with other bloggers, do guest posts and
community. That's really good. Yeah, that's really good. And Laetitia, you're number 2 style blog on Twitter, is that right?
On
Am I making that?
Some Sizian, like some kind of marketing thing.
Sounds good.
But the funny thing is, I'm the complete opposite of Reem for that. Is I don't market myself.
Right.
As in, I've created the blog and I let it market itself.
Okay, this is interesting.
For me, things need to be very organic and very kind of real. Not to say that this is not real, but I don't want it to be a business. I still want it to be me doing something I like. So I don't want to market it. So it kind of marketed itself by just, I don't know, it's like word of mouth almost, and it grew like this. I use Twitter, I use Pinterest, I use Facebook, and the same for that. It grew just by itself. I don't want to push it. I never contact anyone. I never contact brands, I never contact magazines, and I let people come to me. And then I know that they want to feature me. I don't know, it's just, I will pitch for work, for consultancy, but I don't pitch. I don't sell myself as a blogger. Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Very interesting. And Stella?
Exactly the same. Like, I've never written anywhere. I think the brands that do approach you, I want them to come to me because they're happy with the way I dress. Because especially if I want to do styling, obviously I have my signature. I'm not going to be dressed in something that I'm not comfortable in. So I use Facebook fan page a lot because especially in certain countries, like through Digli, who did my banner, I'm quite known in France, and through certain things I'm quite known in like China and things like that. And
this is good. I like Stella's going straight in for global fame.
Well, it's so funny that every country does it different. They love Facebook fan pages.
About
they
Facebook,
love it, So they just want little snippets of your life, just like a simple picture they love. And I love Instagram to a silly extent. I think it's just because people just see what you do in your daily life, and just like, even if it's just a little snap of your shoes, I think it's nice for people to see, and I love looking at other people's Instagrams. And it's such a small thing, you can do it, takes you a minute to do. I don't really have the time of studying and trying to kind of write a dissertation to necessarily do loads of promotion for myself. I tweet when I have a new outfit post, I like tag the brand I'm wearing, but I'm never going to make a massive effort. If people look at it, they look at it. But it's just nice to just post a nice picture, and people will look at that, and from that maybe look at your blog.
Brilliant. And do you have advertising on your blog?
No, I don't.
Not yet. Soon, Stella. Maybe
really
Apple.
careful.
Maybe talk to the guys at Apple. And Laetitia, you've got tons of advertising, right?
I've got 3 banner ads, always. Mainly because they pay for the costs of running the site.
Great. Yeah.
But that's it really.
And have you been sponsored by people? I know you're obviously collaborating with a lot of people.
I do in collaborations. I don't really do sponsored posts. There's been like product placement and things, but that's kind of, it's part of collaborations. Generally will be, me hosting something for a brand or doing some styling for the brand and then relaying it via like a post, including a product placement.
And how what's your experience been like with that? Like, have you made mistakes in the past that you've kind of learnt from, or has it just always been as you've wanted it?
No, I mean, it's been as I wanted it. Money-wise, I have definitely made mistakes in the past from undercharging and not knowing what to charge and stuff. Now I have an agent who looks after that for me, which is amazing because
you're with Handpicked Media, aren't you?
No,
sorry.
Never been.
Who are you with?
No one. I'm a free spirit.
Okay. So who's your agent? That's interesting.
It's just a woman I've hired to kind of represent.
Okay,
I was with a talent agency.
Yeah.
And I've changed.
Okay,
Yeah.
because Handpicked Media, because you're with Handpicked Media, right?
I am,
Handpicked
yes.
Media, I don't know if you know, is like this massive blogger agency who are now hoovering up many of the kind of big names in the sort of blogger community. So, and how I mean, obviously they're your agent, so, but like, how do you find that experience? Has that kind of helped a lot, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see how it works from an agent's point of view and how brands will approach an agency to find the right fit for their product or event. But personally, like, I'm really super selective with what I have on the blog. Like, it's not about them, as much as I talk about it being a business, it's not really about money when it comes down to it, because this did happen from a passion for what I do, and I've been wanting to do fashion since I can draw. So money has to come into it, obviously, for rent reasons.
Yeah.
But in terms of running with an agency, I think it's good to understand what you need to get from them. So there's a good balance, a good back and forth, you know what's going on, and you can sort of point out any mistakes and things like that. But in terms of advertising and stuff, we're very selective. But we do have a lot of affiliate marketing, so we'll work with certain e-commerce. And, only because it makes sense. I mean,
do you know what affiliate marketing, just in case anyone doesn't, say, for instance, you might write about
So
a dress.
I might write about this outfit,
Yeah.
and if I know that these pants are still online, I'll link them to the website so you can buy them. And if you do buy them, I get a small commission.
Which is brilliant.
Which is
Kind of
amazing.
Helps everyone.
Yeah,
and so
go
like
shopping.
the kind of site will track the link to Topshop,
Yeah.
and they'll be like, that came from
And
55 Fabulous.
Exactly. And that way you can sort of see how much you help a brand or, what your readers are into, that sort of
And
thing.
there's an agency that sets that up, whose name I now can't remember, but even if you've literally started a blog and you've got 10 people reading it, there's an agency that will...
I don't think it's an agency. It's like an interface system called Linkshare.
Yeah,
but
that's
there's
it.
also
Yeah.
Reward Style, which
Yeah.
you can check out.
So there's lots of ways that you can kind of put affiliate links on your site, even if you're kind of quite small and you're starting out. And it's just
Exactly.
quite a nice way of
But
feeling
again,
like you're making
like,
money on your blog.
For me, one of the biggest things, I mean, during Christmas time, I would make loads of money. And then when it wasn't Christmas, I'd make no money. And I was
Right.
like, what's going on here?
That's
Freaking out
interesting.
over it. Like, why is no one coming to my blog? Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? The stats are saying one thing, the sales are saying another. And then I just had to realize people don't come to my blog to shop,
Right.
So you have to understand who is coming to your blog and why before you start freaking out over tiny little things. And
Yeah.
I think that's another aspect of it. Like, don't stress out over your statistics because they will fluctuate during different times of the year. I've now learned that at 1 o'clock on a weekday, it's the most popular time because everyone's on their lunch break checking up on the blogs and
and you kind of doing Google Analytics.
Yeah.
And so Google Analytics is a way that you can kind of work out what's happening and when on your blog, and it's all
Exactly.
statistics, and you can become very obsessively
Yeah.
involved with your Google Analytics stats, can't you? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to sort of mention Susie Bubble, who I'm sure you've all heard of, who's like the biggest kind of blogger in the UK. And I guess the sort of, point of all this is, you can get to a sort of certain point with your marketing, and then you might end up sort of, becoming like a huge household name like Susie has. So I think we've got a video of her now. Lovely Susie Bubble. The other couple in the video there were Hannah Almassi, who's our street style style hunter blogger at Grazia, and her boyfriend Phil, who takes the pictures for Style Hunter. And they are going to be on stage next week talking about street style and photography. So do come along for that, because Phil in particular has brilliant tips, and Hannah, as you can imagine, knows everything about kind of shooting street style. So do come along for that. Did anyone see that feature on Susie Bubble in the Weekend Guardian? It was kind of about her flat and how it's a bit of a pigsty. It was very entertaining. Dig it out if you can see it. It was all about people who are minimalist and people who are definitely not minimalist, and her flat is literally rammed full of clothes. So very enviable position to be in. So I was going to ask you, Hannah was saying in the clip, Susie Bubble's obviously a seriously important blogger. How has the sort of status of the blogger changed since you got into the industry?
I think it's grown. There's been a kind of a weird curve where suddenly everyone had to work with bloggers, and then everyone hated bloggers because they were everywhere at Fashion Week, and then people kind of forgot about bloggers very briefly, and then suddenly it was boom again, lots of bloggers everywhere. So it's kind of it's growing, but it's a weird curve with like a love-hate relationship, and there are lots and lots and lots of blogs now, and I think maybe people are more kind of aware of who's who and who's doing what and how they're doing it and which brands should work with what blogger, etc., etc. So it's slowly settling, I think, and thank God for that, because it's been a bit of a hectic ride.
Why do you think it will happen though? Like, why it seems so unlikely that, you know, there aren't many industries where you can just sort of be plucked from its obscurity overnight to be literally sitting on the front row in the case of Susie Bubble and many others.
There are quite a few industries like that. I mean, I know that in video games there's lots of guys, for example, who program in their bedrooms, and then suddenly they get noticed by a studio, and then they get plucked out of obscurity into like superstardom in video games.
I mean, is it literally just that? Is it just the technology, so anyone can do it now? So actually, you're already up there with people who
I think
are kind of being...
I don't know. I mean, I think people didn't really kind of talk about it that much, but, you know, in the 50s and stuff, talented people sending, you know, short stories and things to the New Yorker would get plucked out of obscurity as well. So it's just, I think it's something that's always existed, but with blogs, it's obviously, people are interested in that because social media is very new, and blogging is like an expression of social media that I don't know, I mean, it's just the most kind of interesting expression of social media, whether it's fashion or tech blogging or anything, is people are really hungry for content and interaction, which you don't necessarily have with, obviously you don't have that with paper magazines.
And do you think that, Reem, do you think you sort of arrived at the right time doing all this?
I don't think it's necessarily a case of arriving at a specific time, but how much you're willing to put into it, because I know a lot of people that started it even before me, but they're just kind of lazy and they don't really grasp at opportunities. And I think it's the kind of person you are. Like, if you're hardworking and dedicated, not just at blogging, but anything, you will succeed in it. And I think that's been the case for me, luckily. But like I said, like, I've worked so hard and I continue to work hard. You know, and it's not just with the blog, like everything comes into it. Like, you have to look good. So getting up at 6 a.m. to go running, like with my sister.
Oh my God. I don't have to do that. Can I just say?
You know, it's a lot of different elements. Like, it's a lifestyle. You have to like change your lifestyle to be hardworking. And I'm lucky enough to have a boyfriend who's in a similar industry, video games. And he understands, you know, that element of dedication and hard work. So I don't have that nagging sort of pressure or feeling guilt for not being there for someone. And, you know, my sister's learned very quickly in about a year how important it is to stand out from a crowd. There must have been about 50 girls that, you know, wanted her position. And it takes a lot of hard work and dedication. But in terms of what you were asking, Laetitia, I think with blogging, I mean, the internet is still relatively young and social media is extremely young. But I think what people yearn for is that instantaneous update. And obviously having someone like Susie on the front row tweeting away next to someone that necessarily won't even have Twitter uploaded onto their whatever phone they're using, it's a massive difference in the kind of feed you're going to get from being live at Fashion Week. And I think that's what people want and they love blogs for, that, you know, they can rely on that instant update of what's going on. I'm sure everyone here has been tweeting and Instagramming and stuff, and people at home can look forward to that. And I mean, you guys are airing this on iTunes, so it all works quite well together.
Brilliant. And Stella, do you find it hard to switch off? It seems like it's sort of something that you could end up doing 24/7.
Well, with me, my outfit is who I am, so I don't really put it on. Like, I sometimes find that a bit sad at Fashion Week that people go there to, especially in the recent years, like people go there to be photographed, to dress up.
Does that make you sad? That really interests me that you think that's sad.
It makes me sad because for me, clothes are like an expression of myself. I've been always dressed like this. I dress like this on a Sunday at 9 a.m. I dress like this.
Oh, but do you think people almost like put on a costume just to go to Fashion Week? That's interesting.
I do find that. Even with other like friends I have, they especially have like something that makes you stand out a little bit. And for me, clothes are, they are an art. My outfits are an art for me. So I'm never going to use them as something to be noticed. I want to create something beautiful that someone might look at and then they might think, oh, that's a really nice outfit. It will like brighten up their day. But I would never dress up to fit a certain like look or a certain niche. So for me, it's not switching off because it's like a massive part of me.
Right.
And blogging has just been an excellent way to kind of express it. That's why I think what's also really important is persistence. Like, I've always done a new outfit every single week since starting in 2009. And with a lot of the people that start blogging now, they might start it, they might begin with it, they might get bored. But I think the ones that are going to stick around are the ones that have, like all of us, a real passion for it and really want to work in the industry and are prepared to have it on our minds quite a lot, because I don't mind that, because fashion is such a big part for me. And that's why blogging has been a great way to kind of express that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I know we've massively overrun on the questions I've been asking, and I'm sure all of you have got loads of questions you'd like to ask too. I just would like to say also, thank you very much for coming, obviously, but also please hang around at the end, because we know our street style snapper still wants to get some of you. And also, if you have got blogs, we'd love to see them. So do load them up on your mobile phones or tablets or whatever you got with you, and feel free to come over and show me what you've got, because we'd love to see. So has anyone got any questions? And please wait for the microphone to come over, I think.
Hi, thank you very much for an excellent presentation. My name is Paola from Energia. I specialize in lifestyle. So my question would be probably to Stella, because probably her blog is more visual. How important is it to tag your pictures so that people can search for specific brands or whichever content? Would you say also that tagging images is more important than tagging the actual blog posts?
I don't really tag images.
I was just going to say, how good are you at tagging?
I know, I'm not at all, really.
Okay.
I think I've always kept it very, very simple. I mean, obviously, when you search a certain restaurant, it will come up my blog. That's the kind of thing. And I always kind of make sure to tweet restaurants, because that's, again, it's not only the fashion world that's really interactive, restaurant world is as well. So I kind of know the London restaurant scene quite well. So that's how I get a lot of my hits. And I've worked with Time Out and places like that for my favorite places. So I think that's how you kind of get the word out. And people are really interested in eating out, because especially in London, there aren't that many reliable guides to where like quirky little places are. So I think it's really word of mouth. Like my favorite brunch place, nowadays when I go at a weekend, I recognize half the people because they're my friends. So I mean, even though it's all about the internet, I think word of mouth is still very much how it works today. So no tagging of pictures. No tagging. Maybe I should
Stella's
start
not
now.
a tagger. I'm sure, like, are either of you must be pretty hot. Do you understand what we mean about tagging, where you basically sort of embed a kind of catchphrase that people are going to be searching for, so that your post comes up before anyone else's, or as high up in the sort of Google search engine as possible?
I don't tag.
Oh my God, we've got a whole stage of people who don't tag.
But the thing is, once your site reaches a certain level of kind of traffic or whatever, I don't know how it works. You have to ask Google for that. But basically, you come up anyway. Yeah. But at the beginning, I think just having the name and linking to something else. Yeah. You know, if you mention, say, a restaurant and you link to their website, you're obviously going to come up in the searches at some point. Yeah. But tagging pictures, I mean, it's just very, it's tedious and it takes time. And I'd rather concentrate on taking a really beautiful picture of whatever's in my plate or whatever I'm wearing, rather than tagging it.
This is a really good question, because I think a lot of people here would assume that you are all like white hot on the whole.
No, I hate
SEO.
tagging, and I hate it.
I hate SEO. Mademoiselle
Could
Robot.
have it on a t-shirt.
Reem, you're pretty kind of business-minded. How are you on all
I've
that?
never tagged a picture. I do make sure I name them correctly, so it's not like image one. Yeah. It's named correctly, and although I hate SEO, I do use it, and apparently it's really good. So.
Yeah, apparently it does work, although you all seem to be doing well without it, so who's to say what to make of that? Very good question, thank you. I hope that kind of answers your question. Anyone else at the back there?
Hi everyone, I'm Natasha Gilbert. I'm a model / TV presenter and new blogger. So I just want to say, ladies, I've really found what you have to say extremely interesting and really inspiring. And Mademoiselle Robot, I love what you were saying about how your blog's been organic and it's growing, slowly over time. Because for me, I found it really hard to have a starting point. And I feel like there's so much to do. And it's just good to hear that it's just slowly, easy does it. And Stella, you really made me laugh when you said about how you take pictures you get your friends to take your pictures, because I've literally only just started last week, and what I've been doing is I've been using a tripod, and I've been doing the self-timer, and I've been holding the self-timer and running round in front of the camera to get a picture of myself in the right pose and running back again, and it's been really tiring. So that's a good point. I think I should start using my friends more wisely. And my question for you is, where do you get your inspiration from for each blog post? Do you have like a general thing that you want to talk about for the week, or would you say that you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, I've got something really interesting I want to talk about? Because at the moment, I feel like I've got so much to talk about. I find it really hard to narrow it down to what is the point of the post. If that makes any sense.
What do you think, Laetitia?
Sort of. I mean, for me, it's inspiration's absolutely everywhere. So again, that's a very organic process, as in I wake up and I think, oh, this is great. I saw this yesterday or something, and I'm going to write about it, or showing an outfit or something. I think it has to be, because the important thing, and you were saying it also earlier, is to be true to yourself and to what you like and who you are. And it doesn't matter what you write about almost, or what your angle is, because it's not like you're writing for a magazine where you have to have an angle. Your angle is you. So you're going to write about what you know and what you like and what you see. And then some people say that you need to have some sort of editorials, schedule or something. I don't know. Maybe for a corporate blog, but for a personal blog, I'm not sure.
I don't know about an editorial schedule, but have you all heard of a blog called What I Wore Today? Which is massive. And it was started by Poppy Dinsey, just using her iPhone, actually. And one of the tips she gave us for the last set of Apple masterclasses we were running was that it's really important to get your head around the idea of pacing. And she's saying a big problem that a lot of new bloggers have is that they end up having bloggeria, which she says is like bloggers' sort of verbal diarrhea. Yeah, exactly. And so what tends to happen is for the first month you write three posts a day, and then the next month you don't post hardly at all. And the problem with that is that it's very demoralizing for you, but then also it's quite hard to build an audience, because everyone's like, yeah, this is a daily thing, and then they go back and they're like, oh, there's nothing happening, it must have sort of stopped. And actually you'd be surprised how quickly people stop looking at your blog when they've been back like twice and it's the same post. People kind of give up really quickly. So it's almost quite good to sort of decide early on, like, are you going to post like twice a week or 3 times a week, and then kind of stick to it and find like a manageable pace and stick to that, because then you have a rhythm that people can kind of get into. So maybe that's something to think about. Like, I think an editorial calendar, like you were saying, is more about like the fashion awards are coming up, let's write about that, and then kind of flagging it up on the site. But like just in your head a kind of pace.
But also for the frequency, you could have like some sort of schedule. But I guess you can just say, well, I'm going to post 5 times a week, and that's it.
I have a bit of a routine. I think it's quite nice to kind of have some pointers. Like every Monday, I do my main new outfit. Every Thursday, I try to do like a restaurant review. And then nowadays, I kind of reuse old things from my wardrobe on a Sunday or a Saturday. And it's just good to kind of have a little bit of a routine. Just that way you can kind of plan your week a little bit. I think it's good. Otherwise, you kind of forget about it. And again, people just stop looking. Yeah. Like, that's the thing. I used to post once a week, and people are just like, oh, boring, not going to look anymore. So it's just good to keep it constant. I wouldn't say every day. I wouldn't say like, if you don't feel like it, don't feel like it. Keep the quality high. Do a few times a week, but keep it high. Like, think that it's something you'd be proud of posting. Just don't post for the sake of posting.
And also, like, mix it up with things like videos and things that you can maybe shoot 4 in a day and then post at later dates. Come back for our video masterclass. And week 3. Yeah, come back. Any more questions? Anyone else? On the front row. Oh, and right at the back.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much for the class. It's been a really fun experience. I'm Karuna, and I work in brand representation. And I was just wondering, it's a general question, what's been the biggest challenge in starting the blog? I mean, I feel like with everything you've talked about today, I feel like there's a lot of, economy involved in the whole thing, and time management, and a whole lot of other factors. But what for you has been your biggest challenge with starting the blog and then continuing with it?
Reem, do you want to answer that?
Personally, I think it's a matter of the consistency. Stella pointed out very cleverly that, yes, consistency is super important in running a blog. But, it's a tough industry. Like, fashion isn't the easiest industry. It's scary. It's very, very intimidating, especially when you're new and you're scared and you don't really know what you're doing, but you're trying. And I think we can all agree that we've had moments of utter, like, intimidation. You know, Fashion Week is always super scary for me. I've only ever done 3 seasons, so I'm still very new. And I think the biggest challenge has just been believing that what I'm doing is for a reason. I'm not messing around. I'm not trying to just, you know, make some contacts and hang out with some cool people. Like, I am trying to do what I want to do, and I think I've been very smart in the way I've done it. You know, graduating, I've done my degree and I'm happy with what I've got as a backup, and not being able to find a job, creating my own role in the industry. It's been really tough, and it always will be, but the biggest challenge, I think, is just being consistent in what you're doing every day.
I wanted to ask another question, actually, that I meant to ask before. How do you deal with, like, nasty comments on your site? Do you get trolled much?
I've taken off comments on my blog.
Is that how you deal with it?
Well, I mean, there were a couple of reasons. One, like, some people just wanted to sort of come on there to be negative, or to, like, give an unnecessary opinion, and I'm all for opinion, but my blog is not a forum.
Yeah.
I don't need, you know, like 50 people having a conversation within themselves.
It's not the Daily Mail.
So, and also at the time we were really pushing Facebook, the fan page, because it was quicker. Like, I'd post things up that I wouldn't post up on the blog, and I really wanted to push people to be interactive on Facebook, because they're less likely to be rude if they can't be anonymous.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're more likely to be genuine.
That's really clever. And
so,
then, that's interesting.
So I don't have comments on the blog.
And you've all got fan pages. That's interesting too. Laetitia, have you had much trouble with that?
I've had a couple, but not for a while. I mean, you guys, if you want to come and troll me, feel free. But I haven't had one for a while.
Just get the traffic up.
No, I mean, it's just, you know, I'm 34, so I don't really get. I'm quite happy in my own skin and stuff. So if someone comes on my blog and tells me I'm fat, well, you know, that's
Does that happen?
tough shit. You know, sorry,
Right.
pardon my
Yeah, no,
French,
fair
but
enough.
you know, it's just
Swear away.
I don't really. It's trolls.
So there's something particularly nice about a French person saying, pardon my French. That works really well. Stella, how about you? Been trolled much?
Well, my blog generally doesn't get that many comments. Mine is more about the views. Well, no, like, it's different because mine is outfits and restaurant reviews. I've never made my blog particularly personal. I don't really
Right,
write
so it's
a lot
not
about
like
my
opinionated.
Yeah, like if someone
particularly.
doesn't like my outfit, someone doesn't like my outfit, but people don't tend to voice that. So I've never really made it about myself. I made it about the fashion in my restaurants. And if someone is, like, one time I wrote something about a Georgian restaurant, and one of the women, one girl just wrote a comment disagreeing with that I compared it to, like, Russian cuisine, and that's fair enough because she made a really good argument.
Yeah.
And I can deal with that.
And so did you leave that comment up?
Yeah, I would
That's
never
interesting.
delete it. I mean, that's the whole thing. If you put yourself on the internet, you're going to have to expect that. It's kind of, if you put your name out there, like any kind of celebrity out there, you're going to have people that don't like you, as is in life, and you just deal with that. But I've never really had anything too negative. And if you do, you just kind of deal with it.
Yeah, or delete it.
I don't know. I would never.
Ignore it.
Yeah, I just ignore it. I wouldn't necessarily stop comments. I just think if you have a blog, people should be able to comment on it, because the whole thing how Susie got big is because she had readers and they could comment, and you should never forget that the blog functions by other people reading it, and you should never forget that. If you had a blog and no one read it, you wouldn't be a name out there, so...
It's the interaction as well. I mean, for me, the best thing about blogging is that you're writing to an audience directly who can talk back. And so sometimes they like what you're saying, sometimes they don't, sometimes they have something to add, and sometimes they just have to say, you know, thanks for the post or whatever. But it's nice. It's, you know, if you want to take the positive, there will be trolls coming with, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. I think we're sort of running out of time, so maybe we just have 2 more questions. One over there. Hi.
Hi. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but we're from Styled by Africa, and we just started a couple of months ago, me, myself, Alla, and Kieran. I just wanted a quick question. What are your long-term visions for your blogs?
That's a very good question. Stella?
Well, for me, I don't really want to be forever a blogger. For me, it's always been a platform to get into freelance styling and styling for magazines. So that's kind of the long-term goal. I would always do my blog kind of with my outfits because I find it really interesting, especially when I look back when I started, how my style has developed and how I can take pieces and how it's become more streamlined and how I've grown up. So it's kind of a diary of my style, how it's developed. And I would always kind of continue that, but in the long term, it is the platform to get into styling. and that's what it's always been. I've always wanted to do styling since I'm 14. So yeah, that's the long-term goal.
That's good. Short-term goal.
Yeah, short-term.
Refocus. Yeah.
Yes.
Laetitia?
My long-term goal, I think, is not to be blogging when I'm 55. So,
Oh my God, you sound like rock stars. Like, wouldn't it be awful if we're all still on tour?
no, I don't know. I mean, I don't. Again, I mean, I'm repeating myself. I'm like a broken record, but I don't want to plan because I don't know. You know, in 2007 when I started it, I didn't want to plan, and I still don't. I'm not a big planner anyway. As long as it makes me happy and as long as it makes people happy, then I'll carry on. And if I find that it's kind of becoming uninteresting, that I'm having blogging fatigue, then I'll probably stop. But in the meantime, you know, it's fine. It's not my main. It's not my main focus in life. So I don't know.
I think it's the one aspect of everything I can actually say I have absolutely no idea, because it's not something I wanted to, you know, I never planned on being a blogger. I always wanted to be a designer, and then blogging made me realize I do not want to be a designer, because I could see the backstage access and it was scary. But I think it's the beauty about blogging is that it does open incredible doors for you, and you do get to meet some really wonderful people, so you never know what you could get into. And like I said earlier, like, you do get a lot of experience. There are a lot of different fields that you can tap into within fashion, so we'll see, I guess.
It's good. I like it. It's, you know, so many opportunities, you don't know what's going to happen next, so actually it's quite a hard question to answer.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's been so brilliant talking to all three of you. Thank you so much to Reem, Laetitia and Stella. I'm sure everyone's kind of learnt a lot. I know I have. And if you have a blog, come and show me. Hang around and have your picture taken. And do come back next week for Street Style and the week after for videos. It'd be great to see some more of you and sitting on the front row even. Thank you very much.